if you enable PIM sparse mode, you are enabling the IGMP version 2. The default version is version 2. We need to enable IGMP version 3. Interface ETH01, the command is IP IGMP version 3. That's it. So easy. You know that the PIM SSM uses or PIM SSM is using in PIM SSM we are using the IGMP version 3. Interface ETH01, IP IGMP version 3, also in router 3. Interface ETH01, IP IGMP version 3. Then in router 3, interface ETH01, IP IGMP version 3, and then in router 4, interface ETH01, IP IGMP version 3. That's it. Okay, now we can enable the PIM SSM on this 3 interface with the IP PIM sparse mode. IP PIM sparse mode. Okay, then also in router 3, IP PIM sparse mode. Then in router 3, IP PIM sparse mode, and finally in the router 4, IP PIM sparse mode. That's it. Let me to write here in your configuration on interface ETH01, we need these commands: IP IGMP version 3 and then IP PIM sparse mode. That's it. With sparse mode, we can copy these 2 commands and paste on the ETH01 of the router 2. This is the ETH01 of the router 2, and also router 3. This is the router 3, and finally on the router 4. That's it. Okay. Until now, we enabled the IGMP version 3 IP PIM SSM, and also IP multicast routing in R1, R2, R3, and R4. But we didn't enable the LISP interface for multicast. You know that here in R1 we have one interface LISP, and we are using that interface LISP for the tunneling. Let me to show you in R1. If you check do show IP interface brief, you can see that we have one interface LISP 0, and in this interface LISP 0 we are using this interface for sending or for encapsulating the packets. This is the ITR, you know it. Okay, now we need to enable interface LISP for multicast. Let me to give you one example. Look at here. You know that in the LISP, in the LISP we have this scenario. For example, the server connected to the router 1, and router 1 connected to the router 5, and router 5 connected to router 3, for example, and router 3 connected to PC3. When you are sending one unicast packet from the IP of the server IPS to IP of the PC3 IP3, you know that this is unicast, not multicast. You know that the R1 should encapsulate the packet, and forward this packet to the router 3. Let me to show you. Look at here. When this packet received in R1, R1 should encapsulate it with, for example, LISP. You know it. This here we have LISP header. This is the LISP header. After that, we have UDP header, and then the for example, source IP of the R1 IP1, destination IP of the IP of the router 3. Let me to write here, for example, PCM. And because IPS to IPM, then IP1 to IP3, the IP of router 3. This means that we are using the tunneling, and this means that we have one interface tunnel, and this is logical link between the router 1 and router 3. This is such as the logical link between router 1 and router 3, and we need to enable, and this interface is the LISP interface. If you want to send multicast traffic from this interface, you need to enable multicast on this interface. It's so easy and so understandable that we need to enable multicast on the LISP for forwarding the traffic over the LISP, and the command is IPPIM sparse mode. You know that for enabling multicast routing, we are using the IP multicast IPPIM sparse mode. Look at here in router 1. On the interface LISP 0, we have interface LISP 0, you know it. We need to configure IP PIM sparse mode. Look at here, IP PIM sparse mode. That's it. So easy. IP PIM sparse mode. Now we enabled the LISP interface, the tunnel interface for PIM. So easy. Also in router 2, interface LISP 0, again IP PIM sparse mode. After that, in router 3, interface LISP 0, IPPIM sparse mode. As you can see, everything is happening on the R1, R2, R3, and R4, and not in the R5. And finally, router 4, interface LISP 0, okay, IPPIM sparse mode. That's it. Let me write here on your configuration. In there, for example, in the router 4, we need to add this command. This is router 4, interface, okay, interface, then LISP 0. The command is IPPIM, then sparse mode. That's it. Also, we can copy this command on all of the router 1, router 2, router 3, and router 4. This is for router 3, this is for router 2, and this is for the router 1. That's it. Okay. Now let me to join these two PC3 and PC4 to the, for example, one specific group. You know that we need to receive 226.11.111 with this from the source of the 192.168.110 only. Okay, the command is so easy. IPIGMP join group. Okay, let me to show you. In PC3, we need to use the IPIGMP join command to the, for example, 226.111. Look at here, because we are using SSM and we are using IPPIM SSM default command, let me to change this IP address to the 232 quad 1. You know that we know that for SSM we are using 232.00/8. Because of that, let me to use this IP address. Now we can use the IPIGMP join command in PC3 and PC4 for joining these two PC to the for example, a specific group with a specific source. But before then, I'm going to capture the link between router 3 and router 5. This is capture of ETH00. Let me to show you. Yes, this is the capture of the link between the router 3 and router 5. Okay. And if you want, you can use the IPIGMP version 3 command on the interface of the PC3. This is the interface of PC3. Show run interface ETH00 can show us we have only one IP address. And now I'm going to configure interface ETH00. If you want, you can also capture the ETH01. Okay, let me to show you. Capture interface ETH01, this interface. And after that, we can use IPIGMP join group. But let me first sending the traffic from the server to this IP address 232.111. This is the PC, this is the server. I'm going to send multiple ping command to 232.111 with repeat of, for example, 1000. Now we don't receive any reply because we don't have any viewer or any receiver. Let me to configure the PC3. This is the PC3 and this is the capture file. The first capture, this is the first capture file, the ETH00, and this is the capture of the ETH01. First, in the PC3, I'm going to use this command. First, IPIGMP, okay, IPIGMP version 3, then IPIGMP join group 232.111 with the source of 192.168.110. This means that I need to receive the traffic of the group of the multicast group of 232.111 with the source of 192.168.110, the IP address of the server. Okay, if you enter this command, you will see the IGMP version 3 message from the PC3 to R3, and R3 should send for example, a LISP map request to the R5 for finding this source IP 192.168.110. Okay, let me to show you this process. IPIGMP join group 232.111 with the source of 192.168.110. Here, as you can see, now we have the map request. This is the map request, the LISP map request. Let me to the IGMP only. Here we need to filter IGMP. This is the membership report. Okay, after membership report that we send to the router 3. This is the capture of the link between router 3 and router 5. Let me to filter on LISP packets. The router 3 sends from the quad tree to the destination of 192.168.110 a 1 PIM join message. Look at here, this is the encapsulated PIM join message. And here, first, this is the encapsulated map request for finding the 192.168.110 RLOOK. After receiving the map reply from the router 1, now we can send the